Grow your practice, grow your wealth, grow your impact. Find out how to spend less time in the dental chair and more time on the things you love.
Welcome back to the Dental Wealth Podcast. I'm going to record a short podcast for you today, and because I'm going to give you just something very simple to do. And I want you to take the time to do it. There's no reason to listen to something like this if you don't take the time to implement. And I find that a lot of people that listen to podcasts tend to be into personal development and growth. And so that's a little bit about what this is about today, which is I love the end of the year. And I'm always thinking about this idea of rebirth and what's going to happen. And so I want to give you a technique, a tool, something you can do to implement in the next year, and something I would challenge you to do today. And the first thing I want to do is talk about what is the, people set goals for the next year and they talk about what those goals look like and what they should look like. But I want to use a different, one of the things I see all the time is people say to me, I think if my practice was able to do this much revenue, I think that if I'm able to do that, I hope that I can do this. And so we use these words in a sense that give us an out. And so the first thing, I'm going to give you an exercise, but I want you to I want to address the front side of this is some of it's the language I want you to use as you do it. And the language can't be this out where it says, I hope that by the next year, or I think that I can. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about what it is you're going to do in the next 12 months. So what does it look like? And anyone who knows me knows I'm a big vision person. Right? What does the life look like in 12 months? What does life look like in the next year? And it goes back to a story I've told before in this podcast, but I'll tell you again if you've never heard it. But I was sitting down in front of a gentleman who sold a $30 million company. And I remember asking him, I said, now that you've got $30 million, what does life look like in the next 5 years? And in the middle of this meeting, I zoned out and I started thinking to myself, what does my life look like in 5 years? And when I did that, I left. I was so excited when I left that room that day. And I thought to myself, let's make a list. I want to go down and be very particular about what does life look like. And literally I got down to the shingles on my roof. I got so detailed in what I wanted. And so I started writing those things down. And this is the exercise I'm about to give you, because here's the magic of that. Within 18 months, everything on that list was checked off. It was a 5-year list, and 18 months, everything was checked off. So it's this power of intention and intentionality in your life is so powerful. But the first thing we do is we give ourselves these outs. We give ourselves, by the way, and I do these large workshops all the time, and I'm in front of clients all the time, and I hear it all the time. It's this constant, what I'd like to do in the next year, and what I think, and you almost have to train yourself away from that communication. And I'm not sure exactly how that bled into our society or where it came that everybody gives themselves outs, but I would stop doing that. And I've done this exercise for myself already, and I would write down in 2020 or by the end of 2020, and I would journal this. So I would do this as an exercise, and I would write down, by the end of 2020, my practice will be doing this. By the end of 2020, my physical appearance will look like this. By the end of 2020, my marriage, and whatever it is that you're trying to get accomplished. And what I don't want you to do is this isn't necessarily a goal setting exercise, because I'm going to explain why in a second. But what you do is you get really in tune with, these are the things I'm going to get accomplished. By the way, I want you to hold yourself accountable so you can go back and look at these things. And it's interesting. Every time I've done this exercise, I've went back and I'm like, holy crap, I got it all done. It's powerful, but here's the power. Here's how you do this. It's a decision-making tool. And it's a decision-making tool for what you're trying to get accomplished, because all you have to do is, once you've figured those things out, you make this list. And I'd put it in a journal. I'd put it somewhere you can take with you, or, put it somewhere you can reference often. And then I put a T-shaped grid. And in that T-shaped grid, I put closer or further on the T-shaped grid. And then over the year, I make every decision based on that T-shaped grid. Like I go back anytime I'm struggling, whether it be investing in personal development, whether it be investing in the practice for yourself, whether it be doing something with your kids, whether it be, some type of new physical diet or regiment or whatever it is, because sometimes it's scary to invest even in yourself. You know that. Sometimes it's expensive to invest in yourself. And it's interesting, the most successful people I work with absolutely invest in themselves all the time. I mean, I'm literally leaving this studio and I'm getting on a plane myself to go into something I'm doing for personal development. And it's very expensive. And so we all need to be constantly putting our, money into personal development. But what will get you there is this T-shaped grid, and you just go, hey, does this get me closer or further? And we just put closer on one side of the T-shaped grid, further on the other side, and then every decision goes through that. So first of all, you got to have a vision. You have to know, and I don't want you really to take 5 years with this exercise. I don't want you to do a 5-year exercise. I want you to do a 12-month. Give me 12 months, right? Just give me 12 months. Follow this for 12 months. I'm telling you it'll change your life. I'm telling you that you'll start adding to your list. You'll become more. And because you become more, you'll have more. And you'll start adding other disciplines. And it's like, people start throwing out these goals that don't even make sense. And they don't even know where they got the goal. Sometimes, people throw out revenue goals. And it's interesting. I said to a doctor recently, I have a lot of doctors that, have been able to pull themselves completely out of dental or down to 1 or 2 days a week. And, it's like if I asked you this question, if revenue stayed the same, but you were able to, so if your income stayed the same and revenue stayed the same, but you were able to work 1 or 2 days a week clinically, or maybe even pull back 1 day, would that be a good 2020? See, what does life look like? I think you've got to determine what it is that you want life to look like. And once you get really in tune with that, so don't chase goals just because you talk to your friends, and don't change things that are just an ego trip. Go back and say, man, in the next 12 months, listen to this podcast and take it in and go, hey, look, I've got to ask myself, in the next 12 months, what do I want my life to look like? If I wake up 12 months from now, what should my body, my physical appearance look like, and my mental state, and my sleep habits, and my eating habits, and my marriage, and my relationships and friendships, and my own personal development? What does all that look like? And then when you go, well, should I put $10,000 into this? Should I buy this? Should I eat this? Should I spend more time doing this? And any time you start to hesitate, you go back to your T-shaped grid. And if it gets you closer, you do it. And if it gets you further, you don't. And literally, I left that day and I eliminated everything from my life that did not get me closer. And the compound effect of that made such a dramatic change that all my goals literally got hit overnight. So worry less about each individual goal, because you'll find that you'll be able to obtain the goals. You'll start to see the goals come into reality because of the fact that you know what life looks like and what you want it to look like. That's all I want you to do on this podcast. I just want you to take the time, just take 10 minutes, invest in yourself. If you're not going to invest in yourself now, this is the time to do it. So invest in yourself. Write down the things that you're going to, not I think or should, I want. This is what I'm going to do in the next 12 months. This is what I'm going to commit to in the next 12 months. And does this get me closer or further? And follow that process. And it literally will have dramatic results for your life and for your practice. Thank you for listening.